How advanced is North Korea's nuclear weapons program?
North Korea has just announced a shocking advancement in nuclear fusion, setting off alarms worldwide. Since the 1990s, they've been pushing forward with two types of fusion technology, both aimed at producing powerful plasma energy for greater independence and military strength. What if they've really achieved something so powerful it could change the world as we know it? Let's expose what this could mean for global stability. North Korea's nuclear ambitions. Since the early 1990s, North Korea has been working on nuclear fusion research focusing on two main methods: magnetic confinement fusion, MCF, and inertial confinement fusion. The country's goal is to become more energy independent and strengthen its nuclear weapons program. Despite facing many scientific and technical challenges, the research continues, which has serious consequences for global security. As the sun set over the secretive facilities in North Korea, the world held its breath, unaware that the next test could forever alter the delicate balance of power. Magnetic confinement fusion uses magnetic fields to trap super-hot, electrically charged gas inside a structure like a tokamak reactor. This is an important step in starting nuclear fusion. A tokamak is shaped like a donut and uses strong magnetic fields to keep the plasma stable. The country began looking into this technology in the 90s, and its scientists have studied plasma dynamics and how the tokamak works. However, they are still far behind other countries like China, South Korea, and the European Union, which are all part of large international fusion projects like ITER. Even so, there have been some announcements of progress. For example, in 2010, a big leap forward in energy development was claimed. But without outside help or advanced technology, it's unlikely that much progress has been made in actually using nuclear fusion to create energy. The second approach, inertial confinement fusion, uses tiny fuel pellets made from deuterium and tritium. Lasers or beams of high energy crush the pellets, causing fusion. There is interest in this method because it could have military uses. The extreme pressure and heat produced in the process are similar to what happens in nuclear explosions. Around the mid-2000s, research into ICF ramped up, especially as it related to nuclear weapons tests in 2016 and 2017. The focus has been on a method called indirect drive ICF, where lasers or X-rays compress the fuel indirectly, which could be useful for military purposes. But the story doesn't end there. Even though the ICF research is still in the early stages, it plays a key role in maintaining and upgrading nuclear weapons without needing to conduct actual tests. This strategy, known as stockpile stewardship, lets the weapons stay ready and working without doing any more underground tests, which are condemned around the world. MCF, on the other hand, could one day offer a steady energy source. But because it's so complex and slow to develop, it's less likely to be used for making weapons. MCF systems need to trap plasma for long periods and at low densities, making them unsuitable for nuclear weapons. So the risk of this technology being used for military purposes is lower. In contrast, ICF is seen as a way to better understand the physics behind nuclear weapons. This method could improve bomb designs through simulations, allowing to bypass international agreements like the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. Here's where it gets even more concerning. If successful in developing ICF-based simulations for military purposes, it could expand the nuclear arsenal and make future disarmament talks more difficult. However, setting up ICF facilities is incredibly expensive and technically challenging. Facing sanctions and financial limitations, significant progress in this area is a struggle. The technical and financial barriers may slow them down, but the pursuit, which keeps global tensions high, is not being given up on. Despite big dreams, missing technology makes things tough. The isolated pursuit of nuclear fusion. The country faces huge challenges when it comes to nuclear fusion research. Simply put, it doesn't have the advanced technology or infrastructure needed for high-level fusion work. Building reactors like tokamaks for MCF or laser-based systems for ICF requires a lot of money and technical know-how. Unfortunately, due to its isolation from the rest of the world and the impact of international sanctions, both are lacking. On top of that, access to supercomputers, which are vital for running detailed fusion simulations, is blocked from getting the necessary technology. These restrictions don't just limit the ability to get the materials needed. They also cut scientists off from the global scientific community, making it hard to learn about and use the latest technologies in nuclear fusion. In 2010, a bold claim was made saying significant progress in nuclear fusion had been achieved. This was seen as proof of scientific strength and focused on both MCF and ICF technologies. However, many experts were doubtful. They questioned whether real progress could be made, given the huge technological and financial obstacles in the way. But this wasn't the most surprising part. Globally, these claims were met with doubt. Nuclear fusion, the process of fusing atomic nuclei to release large amounts of energy, requires extremely high temperatures and pressures. International projects like ITER in France are working hard to push the limits of fusion research. Still, many believe that the resources or technology to pull off something so complex simply don't exist. There was also little evidence to back up the claims. No outside experts confirmed the progress, and no detailed data was shared with the public. Many analysts thought these announcements were more about trying to show off abilities to gain attention, both at home and abroad. In addition to MCF, an investment in ICF, especially the kind that could be useful for military purposes, has been made. ICF uses high-energy beams or radiation to compress fuel and cause fusion. While many countries focus on ICF for energy production, its use in nuclear weapons development is also significant, as it helps improve nuclear capabilities without having to perform actual tests. The real concern, though, lies in the interest in a specific type of ICF called indirect drive ICF. This technique uses lasers to heat a small capsule inside a chamber, creating X-rays that compress the fuel in a way similar to how a hydrogen bomb works. If progress here is made, it could allow the development of more advanced nuclear weapons without needing to carry out underground nuclear tests, which have often led to international backlash and penalties. Despite all the claims and some research efforts, North Korea still faces big obstacles in advancing both magnetic confinement fusion, MCF, and inertial confinement fusion, ICF technologies. These technologies require sophisticated equipment, complex reactors, and a huge amount of computing power, all of which it lacks. Just building a cutting-edge ICF facility, like the ones in the United States, would cost billions of dollars, money it simply doesn't have, especially with the heavy economic sanctions it is under. Researching nuclear fusion requires special materials like deuterium and tritium, which are controlled by international rules. Because of sanctions and trade restrictions, it's incredibly hard for the country to get these materials. They also lack the advanced computers needed to simulate the complicated science behind nuclear fusion, which slows their progress even more. Science and politics mix in surprising ways. The dual paths of nuclear research. The real worry about its fusion research is its potential for military use, especially in something called ICF. Advanced nuclear programs use ICF to improve their weapons without actually setting off nuclear tests, which are banned. If it improves its understanding of fusion through ICF, it could secretly advance its nuclear weapons program, making it harder for the rest of the world to track what they're doing. And because it is known for keeping secrets, it's tough to know how far along they are in this research. In response, the international community has tightened sanctions even further. These sanctions are aimed at cutting off its access to both the technology and knowledge needed for nuclear fusion, trying to stop them from learning indirectly from other countries. Still, as it continues with its research, the world needs to stay alert. While their limitations make it unlikely they'll achieve major breakthroughs anytime soon, any progress, especially in ICF, could boost their nuclear weapons capabilities. That's why international cooperation to block technology transfers and ongoing diplomatic efforts are crucial in addressing this threat. But this isn't just about energy. Its interest in nuclear fusion has raised concerns about its military intentions too. Their work on MCF and ICF shows that they might be aiming for more than just a new energy source. There are real fears that this research could strengthen their nuclear weapons program. The country has been exploring nuclear fusion since the early 1990s. Unlike larger countries that invest billions into huge projects like the International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor, ITER, its efforts are limited by its lack of resources and infrastructure. Even so, the regime has often claimed big achievements like a supposed breakthrough in 2010. But most experts doubt these claims, pointing out the huge technological and financial challenges involved. To this day, there's no evidence that it has a working nuclear fusion reactor for either energy or military use. These bold claims are usually seen as political moves rather than real scientific advancements. But that wasn't the worst part. Its focus on ICF is especially concerning because of its potential military use. ICF uses high-energy lasers or similar methods to compress fuel and start nuclear fusion. This could help it simulate nuclear explosions, allowing them to fine-tune their nuclear weapons without actually setting off real bombs. This method is particularly useful for them since international sanctions stop them from conducting actual nuclear tests. Still, it faces big challenges in advancing its fusion research. Both MCF and ICF require advanced technology, reactors, and powerful computers, all of which are hard for it to get due to sanctions and resource shortages. For instance, building an ICF system like the one in the United States would cost billions of dollars, an amount it can't afford. On top of that, they're also blocked from getting critical materials like deuterium and tritium, which are tightly controlled by international laws. But even with all these challenges, its ambitions in nuclear fusion, particularly for military purposes, remain a concern for the world. It is facing a big challenge because it lacks powerful supercomputers. These machines are really important for running complicated simulations, like those needed for nuclear fusion. Without this kind of technology, it's very unlikely that they will be able to build a working fusion reactor anytime soon. High hopes clash with big hurdles, the silent threat. But the bigger concern might not be about building fusion reactors. It could actually be more interested in using fusion research to improve how they simulate nuclear weapons. By enhancing simulations, especially through something called ICF, they could make their nuclear weapons better without needing to do real tests. This way, they could keep their weapons updated and ready, just like other nuclear powers such as the United States, which use similar methods while sticking to test bans. Considering that it hasn't done many nuclear tests in the past, these simulations become even more important. They allow it to experiment with new nuclear warhead designs and make old ones better without actually setting off any explosions, which would violate international rules. But this isn't the worst part. While fusion research might lead to clean and endless energy, it also gives countries the tools to create even more powerful nuclear weapons. This is why its interest in ICF is concerning. If they make significant progress, they could secretly boost their nuclear weapons without drawing as much attention as a real nuclear test would. Looking ahead, it's likely that it will keep trying to improve their ability to simulate nuclear weapons for military purposes. However, the high costs, tough technical barriers, and strict global sanctions make it unlikely that they'll succeed in building a working fusion reactor anytime soon. The world needs to stay alert, especially regarding any scientific partnerships or technology that could help in its fusion research. Now let's look at the bigger picture. There are currently 9 countries with nuclear weapons: the United States, Russia, the United Kingdom, France, China, India, Pakistan, and Israel. Together they have around 12,121 nuclear warheads, and each country is trying to improve the strength and complexity of their weapons. But this isn't the only thing to worry about. The majority of these weapons, about 90%, are owned by Russia and the United States. Russia has around 6,257 warheads, while the USA has close to 5,550. Even though both countries have reduced their numbers over the years, they still maintain large stockpiles and are actively working on upgrading their weapons. The ongoing conflicts around the world, like the war in Ukraine, have made it harder to be transparent about nuclear capabilities, making it even more difficult to negotiate arms control. Meanwhile, China is rapidly building up its nuclear arsenal. Right now, China has about 500 warheads and is increasing that number faster than any other country. They're also working on improving their missile technology, which suggests that China's nuclear strength will continue to grow. In the meantime, the United Kingdom and France are focusing on keeping their nuclear weapons modern, while also working on some new technologies. The United Kingdom plans to increase its number of nuclear weapons because of growing worries about security, while France is working on updating its submarines and missile systems. In South Asia, both India and Pakistan are building up their nuclear stockpiles, mainly due to ongoing tensions between the two nations. India is making progress in its ability to launch strikes over longer distances, not just keeping an eye on Pakistan, but also considering China in its plans. North Korea is building up its nuclear weapons and is now believed to have about 90 of them. This is a big increase from before, and they've made these weapons small enough to fit on different types of missiles. Some missiles can hit nearby targets, while others are powerful enough to reach far-off places like the US mainland. North Korea hasn't been quiet about this either. They've shown maps and made public threats about hitting U.S. military bases in places like Guam and Hawaii. The names of their warhead designs, like disco ball, peanut, and olive, might sound harmless, but they represent advanced and dangerous nuclear technology. These designs include both simpler atomic bombs and much more powerful hydrogen bombs. What's even more concerning is that these bombs can be carried by new missiles that are harder to defend against because they can be launched from trucks, submarines, and hidden silos. As military strength grows, the world watches closely, exposing the shadows. North Korea's leaders claim these weapons are crucial for their protection, and they might use them if they feel seriously threatened. But despite their tough words, most experts believe North Korea would only use these weapons if they had no other choice, like if their country or government were on the verge of being wiped out. But that's not the worst part. North Korea is also improving its missile technology. They've added new types of missiles that are faster and more dependable, making it harder for other countries to defend against them. This includes using solid fuel technology, which allows missiles to launch faster and move around without being easily detected. This military buildup is North Korea's way of resisting international pressure that tries to stop it from developing these weapons. The country is especially focused on pushing the U.S. to accept it as a nuclear power, which would likely mean easing the strict sanctions that are currently in place. As a response, countries like the U.S., South Korea, and Japan are working more closely together. They're conducting larger military exercises and preparing to defend themselves against North Korea's growing arsenal. These efforts are part of a broader plan to keep North Korea from using its weapons or threatening its neighbors too much. But that's not the only thing to worry about. While building up its military power, North Korea is also trying to strengthen its relationships with other countries, especially those that don't get along with the U.S. This includes working more closely with Russia and China, two countries that have helped North Korea avoid even harsher international penalties because of their strong positions in world politics. In short, North Korea's actions are causing a lot of concern and making many countries uneasy. No one knows exactly how far North Korea will go or what it intends to do with all these weapons. But what's clear is that the situation is very tense and the risks are high, not just for the region, but for the entire world. Israel, on the other hand, takes a very controlled approach to its nuclear program. It's estimated to have around 90 warheads, though the country doesn't publicly share details about its nuclear plans and keeps everything very secretive. In the middle of Israel's Negev desert, there's a highly secure facility that has captured global attention for years, the Dimona Nuclear Research Center. For decades, this fortified complex has been the subject of speculation about Israel's nuclear capabilities. While Israel stays quiet about the exact details of its nuclear arsenal, international talks suggest that it holds around 90 powerful warheads. These weapons, likely made from plutonium possibly sourced from Dimona, are considered some of the most powerful in the world. But that's not all. Above Israel's skies are advanced planes like the F-15, F-16, and the stealthy F-35, all thought to be capable of delivering these hidden weapons to faraway targets. Under the sea, Israel has secret Dolphin-class submarines, believed to be capable of launching nuclear attacks from underwater. The development of this secretive arsenal has a long history, involving secret agreements and undercover operations that go back to the 1950s. Israel has worked with other countries to gain the knowledge and materials needed, building a network of secrecy. But this wasn't the only challenge. In a world where every secret is closely guarded, Israel's strategy of not confirming or denying its capabilities acts as a strong shield. This silence keeps both its allies and enemies guessing, creating a barrier of uncertainty that protects the nation simply through the suggestion of power. As the sun sets over the desert, casting long shadows, the full extent of Israel's nuclear force remains a mystery. In the ever-shifting politics of the Middle East, this uncertainty continues to be a key part of the power balance, where the unknown might hold the greatest influence. What do you think are the risks and benefits of Israel's secretive stance? Comment your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into complex issues.